We've transitioned from a one-time pack model to selling it as a subscription, and on a no-code build, got it to maybe 15 or 20K in MRR. And now we're doing north of $1 million a year.
No, not a single line of code.
No.
This is Sam. Without knowing how to code, he built $1 million business simply using automation tools.
It's like playing easy mode. We would have either had to hire an SDR to sit there and manage pipeline and move people around and follow up emails, or I can build 4 Zaps that do 90% of that work for a penny an email. There's a lot of moving pieces. I mean, Unlimited is built on the back of 6 or 7 Zaps.
But Sam's approach today looks way different from where he started. He learned a few critical lessons early on that completely changed his approach to how to grow a business.
I was trying to come up with these grand ideas that I thought were super cool and that the market would love, and all of them failed. It was like, oh wait, I'm wasting 6 months on something that I think is awesome. But if you really want to make money, identify the problem, be good enough to be the solution, and get paid for it.
Fast forward to today, and he owns a portfolio of cash flowing businesses doing well over 7 figures.
I think if my entire world exploded tomorrow, I would definitely go into like...
In this episode, Sam reveals how he built multiple companies in just 24 hours using no-code tools, his process for finding and starting cash flowing businesses, and some of his favorite tools and resources for anyone else to get started today. Let's dive in.
Here we are in LA in the studio. We got Sam here. What are some of the projects you're working on right now, and how did you start?
The 2 main priorities that I have right now are Quicker HQ, which is a holding company of primarily digital marketing agencies across web design, SEO, and PPC, as well as running a software product for direct-to-consumer brands called Creative OS.
Do you know how to code today?
Literally no idea. I can like read it. It's passable enough to manage developers at this point. No, I mean, a lot of it like is just connecting tools together and just trying to figure out if you can make something work.
I think you're really good at spotting trends and then understanding where to place yourself in learning that trend and monetizing that. What is no code and how do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, no code is essentially like an understanding that there's a bunch of tools that exist in the market that if you put together can create the same outcome as a custom platform. All it really comes down to is there's data that exists that needs to be manipulated and displayed to the end consumer. And if you can boil it down to that being exactly what's going on, it's a lot easier for you to say, okay, Webflow or Glide apps or Adalo will all be this front end that I can manipulate the display of it. Like, how do I display this information? Then you use something like Airtable, which is like one of my favorite tools on the internet, which is like a database tool, which allows for you to store and manipulate and move data around. And then you have Zapier or Make.com that allow for you to move data in and out of platforms across different stuff. And if you can kind of just like daisy chain stuff together, you can do the same stuff that you can do with full custom code for 1/10 of the time and cost. Like, you don't have to go spend 6 months developing a platform. You can just go spin it up in a weekend.
How many of these, like
Building a company or building a SaaS in 24 hours have you done?
Publicly, I think I've built probably 5 or 6 live on Twitter. Privately, hundreds. Like, yeah, like every week I'm out there tinkering with something that I think could be cool.
I guess, how do you think through that? Like, what is step 1?
Oh, step 1 always, no matter what's going on, is like, where's the opportunity in the market, right? Like, and I think that's probably the hardest thing that a lot of entrepreneurs have to solve for, is like picking what is the problem that you're going to solve and how do you create something that's valuable enough to someone experiencing that problem to pay for a solution. And it doesn't have to be these macro problems that you get preached in entrepreneurship classes and all of that. It could be something as simple as like, oh, there's 15,000 Facebook ad agencies. They all want more clients. They don't know how to get the email addresses of their clients. Cool. Can you go solve that problem and then create a solution that allows for all of them to benefit off of your work and compensate you with dollars?
How did that evolve into starting the businesses that you've started today?
And there's been like hundreds of ideas that have been tinkered with and played with, right? Like the 24-hour build for a long time, or like my daily life. Like, how do we create as many things as possible, test them in the market, just like learn the game. Originally, a bunch of the agency work was a little bit more about like, how do I work in real world business settings without having to own the thing. I wanted to learn how to market a restaurant, but like me starting a restaurant didn't make any sense. And so it was like, cool, can I find a restaurant partner with, but then I can learn these skills and provide a service and kind of get better. And then over time, it's just become, you know, I want to create the thing that I'm getting eyeballs for. I'm making all this money for other people. It's kind of where the no-code stuff came in, where I was like helping a SaaS company a few years ago, like grow their MRR. And then I was like, wait a second, like I'm getting paid a retainer to do this, but I've grown their MRR and their enterprise value by a lot of money. How do I go through and create something of my own, leverage the marketing skills that I have? But I'm an idiot. And so I didn't know how to code. And so I was like, we got to figure out how to plug some tools together to create the value.
I think a lot of people watching this are like, oh yeah, I should learn no code, or I should learn Zapier Zaps or integrations. And maybe they take a course. You have this seemingly massive bias towards action to like apply it to an experiment or apply it to, oh, can I make money off of this? Yeah. How did you do that specifically for no code?
I think I'm like really not interested in like the tools themselves. Like I'm interested in the outcome that they can create. I say self-taught. Like I never have taken a course on Webflow, but we run one of the best design agencies and it just comes from doing it. A lot of people, I think, want to go take a course on like Zapier as an example, learning all the ins and outs of automation, but then you get thrown into a real world setting. And like, not that that education is useless, but you end up in a position where you have to learn how it actually applies. Like, what is the problem that we're going to solve? What tool can we use to do it? What YouTube video can I watch to learn how to use the tool to solve that problem? And building it in that way versus just becoming more of like glutton of education. Like, I just want to do the thing. Like, what are we trying to achieve? We might as well just jump to that step.
And today, like, what do some of your businesses do in revenue, or what is your team look like?
Yeah. So basically with Quicker, we have a handful of agencies collectively, 7-figure run rate, about 20 employees full time, serving, hundreds of clients and managing hundreds of $1 millions of ad spend and marketing spend across all of those. And then Creative OS also just crossed $1 million run rate as a software, which was a very awesome experience because it started as a no-code build, So yeah,
talk about like how you started that.
Buddy of mine was a phenomenal ad designer. A lot of direct consumer brands, some of the big ones would go to him to do their ad creatives so that they could run more profitable ads. And over the course of running more of an agency model, built this entire template of all of the highest performing ads ever, like hundreds of templates that people could use. And then we were selling them as one-time packs, hey, pay us $150 and we'll send you 50 ad creative templates. And then a year or two prior to that, I had done a weekend build live on Twitter tool called, I think it was called Bump. And it was basically like a directory of influencers that brands could use. And we were like, well, what happens if we take the same infrastructure, right? It's a display of data. Like, how do we display all of these ad templates in a way that's easy for them to navigate? One click, copy and paste into Canva or Figma. And so we put the entire thing together with Airtable and MemberStack and Whale Sync and Webflow. And transition from a one-time pack model to selling it as a subscription, and on a no-code build, got it to maybe 15 or 20K in MRR, and then made the transition into full code because roadmap got a lot bigger of what we wanted to do. And now we're doing north of $1 million a year and scaling.
15, 20K MRR, no, not a single line of code.
No, actually 9 lines of code. 9 lines of code to get the copy to Figma thing to work. We paid a dude that I knew to write 9 lines of code. It was the most expensive 9 lines of code that I've ever paid for, but also it's made us a lot of money, so I'm happy about it.
Right. What are some maybe opportunities that are around today? If you're starting from scratch, like, would you try to learn Zapier and apply it to this business, or how would you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if someone's getting started in entrepreneurship right now, it's like the unsexy thing to talk about. I just posted on Twitter about it, which is like, I don't think diving into software is the move. I think starting as a service provider to a specific segment of a market that you have a competitive advantage in, right? If you operate in the e-commerce space, I'd say, okay, cool. Like, identify a problem that you can serve personally as a service provider. People are struggling with SEO or automation. Cool, step into that role, solve the problem, do the agency stuff. You'll make the most money. You'll increase your cash flow. You'll get much more intimate with clients because you're talking to them regularly, and then you'll see the opportunity for what's next, right? That's why Creative OS is at $1 million a year. It started as an agency. Like, we were doing $40,000 a month as an agency, which then the sawdust of that agency was the templates. We started selling them as one-time packs. We go, how do we get more efficient from a monetization model? And like, one thing just would lead to the next all the way through. We had so much build up to that. And that's why I'm biased towards just like do the thing. Like just get in the rooms, start making money, and the opportunities will present themselves.
You write a lot of really good threads on Twitter, or at least you used to. Some of them, a lot of them, if you just search 24 hours, it's like you have like 5 or 10 of these.
Yeah.
The other one, I think you had a really good one, like how to make $9,000 a month if I were starting out from scratch or something. How would you approach that?
When I think about business ideas in general, a lot of what you're trying to do for your customers is get them from point A to point B, right? Point A is they're experiencing some problem or something that they're not happy with. Point B is this end result that they want to achieve. For OS, people want to create high-performing ads. Cool. What's the easiest way for us to do that? At the beginning, it was pay us and we'll make your ads. Then it was buy our template pack. Now it's sign up for our service. And so a lot of it is solving the same problem, but using different vehicles of value delivery, right? And you see it all the time, specifically with personal brands. Like personal brands will offer a free newsletter, which is a vehicle of delivery. They'll offer a course, they'll offer a community, they'll do a podcast, they'll have consulting. And so if you can just kind of find, like the $9,000 one was all about digital products of like, cool, you can run an agency that says, we will help you automate your client communications, right? And you can do that as a service by building the Zaps for people themselves. But again, it's like, if you haven't built Zaps for agencies, it's harder to step into that where you can actually give them reliable information.
Maybe the step one is, I like your idea of attaching yourself to businesses already using a specific tool. So we talked maybe about like Zapier. What are some other ideas?
QuickBooks is a good one. I mean, that's like what bookkeepers do, is attach themselves to QuickBooks really well. A buddy of mine runs Salesforce integration company where he just attaches himself to Salesforce and says, hey, if your company is looking to set up or optimize your Salesforce, you come to us. We've done it with a company called DataBox, where we just add kind of this done-for-you layer on top of an existing tool. It's like playing easy mode a little bit when you're starting your agency, because you can start to market directly to people that are already using these tools that are having problems and say, hey, we can come in and solve that. And kind of owning, a lot of people when they talk about niching down, like a cold email agency, they're like, we're a cold email agency for e-com brands or SaaS companies or whatever, and they niche into a market. I think it's more interesting to niche into a tool, right? You can actually position yourself a little bit more as an expert on a specific platform, and then everybody that's using that platform becomes a target customer.
For the DataBox example, like what is DataBox and what do they do? Then what do you do?
Yeah, so DataBox is essentially data visualization, right? You can pop into their platform and build custom dashboards that give you all of the metrics that you're looking for. You can connect Facebook ads or QuickBooks or Stripe or any of the tools that pump off data.
And I think you've mentioned too, in spotting some of these customers with dollars to spend, one, they might be attached to a DataBox or QuickBooks. 2, they might be like sharing on Twitter, like advice or need help. Like, have you spotted trends or customers that way?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Twitter advanced search is God's gift to the internet. You just pop in there and put whatever keywords you want. I mean, there's other underrated ones. I think Quora, when people are looking for business ideas, Quora is a really good one. Yeah, because it's literally the entire platform is built on asking and answering questions, right? It gives you very clear, and not even just in the business world, right? Like there's people on Quora that are like, how do I help my baby sleep better through the night? Every question is a problem. You could charge parents $1,000 for the advice to help their baby sleep better. And it's all based off just knowing that that question exists.
How attached to these problems or questions were you? So like baby sleeping, for example, like maybe you don't care at all about baby sleeping. Yeah. Maybe you're really interested in Zapier. Like, is part of it because you were curious about it too?
For sure. I think maybe it was Mark Cuban was talking about working in industries where you like talking to the people. And so like, I love serving small business owners. I love serving direct consumer brands. Like those are the people that I like to talk to, the stuff that I'm interested in. And what it does is like, makes all of the work way more enjoyable. And so I think it's more about like leaning into who you are a little bit more aggressively than like seeking a problem. Because if you're not experiencing the problem yourself or familiar with it or curious about it, the work is going to feel like work. And at the end of the day, like we want to have fun. You know, if you really want to get somewhere, you got to enjoy it.
Charlie Munger has this line that I love. He says, follow your natural drift. He said he's never been really that good at anything he wasn't really interested in. Right. And like you said, there's so many opportunities. There's infinite opportunities, infinite information, but like finite time. So just pick one of them that you're already interested in.
Pick the stuff that you care about.
Right.
Yeah.
I checked out some of the links in your bio or some of the businesses that you own, and the landing pages are beautiful, and the copy is so clear and concise, and you've shrunk down the call to action to like start here for $1 or launch in minutes. How do you think about the call to action or copywriting in some of these?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, I mean, there's the tactical parts of it. A lot of it emotionally for the end consumer is about reducing friction. I think it's really easy to get super complicated in your copy, almost as a forcing function of trying to like express that you're capable, right? A lot of people early on want to talk about the features, like here's all the things that we can do. When the reality is people aren't really buying what you can do, they're buying that point A to point B trajectory. With 72hoursites.com, it's get a brand new high converting website in 72 hours. That's it. Right? Like, I don't need to tout all of my design capabilities and our client first methodology and like all of it. Like, what these people want to buy is a new site that converts well, that they get fast, right? Like, what is the actual root problem that we're solving for, and just making that abundantly clear throughout all of the copy.
Features tell, benefits sell.
For sure.
And 72-hour site, it's like, I don't even have to click the link. I know what that means.
Exactly what's good just off the domain.
How did you start that?
So we ran a website agency for a long time. Originally it was Blinks, and we were doing a lot of like $20,000 to $30,000 websites, much more bespoke, high touch. And what had happened over the course of building all of those big boy websites was like our process got super bloated because people were paying the price, right? You pay $30,000 for a website. You want 4 branding meetings. You want 6 copywriting calls. You want a bunch of design revisions and reviews and management and like all of this stuff, which like for the right customer is perfect. That's cool. Like we're happy to do it. For most people, it's like we need a high converting landing page. We need a blog. And we need a lead gen funnel. And so we were like, let's trim all of the fat. We're just gonna streamline the process into 72 hours, deliver exactly what people want at a price point that like is a no-brainer for the quality of work, and just really build on a stronger foundation than like, hey, we're gonna go try to milk as much money out of you as possible early on in the process. Like we wanna build with people for a decade and really become a good SEO partner for them.
Your approach has been specific agency, very deep customized, and then shrinking that down to productized, and then doing that in other components of their business that they need. And now you have this holding company that, oh, you need a website, oh, you need traffic, oh, you need ads, SEO, content.
Yeah, we focus on how do we create approachable price points that are ROI positive, right? Like that's at the end of the day, when you're selling B2B, you pay me $1,000 and I will make you more than $1,000. That's the offer. And so a lot of agencies, specifically in SEO, set themselves up for failure, right? If you have a client that's never done anything on SEO and they start paying you $3,000 a month and it takes them 6 months to get results, that client is out of pocket 18 grand before really starting to see any movement. And so if you're new to SEO, we're really starting to kind of step into that world. You come to unlimited content where you can start for $400 and we'll start getting you results within 60 or 90 days. And you can start to build and actually create momentum versus waiting for 6 months with not really any results and just paying a premium on those 6 months.
Right. How much of those, I'd imagine when you delight customers in the latter example, it's a lot easier to get word of mouth referrals.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We just turned on paid for the majority of our business. Across all of the agencies, really, word of mouth has been our biggest, most reliable channel, especially on the website side. When people reach out to our clients asking who built your website, because it's so nice, and we get that referral, like that's what means the world to us. It means that we're doing a really good job.
So you obviously have these 3 companies, maybe even more, that you're focusing on. If you weren't doing that and starting sort of from scratch, like which ones would maybe you approach? Or if there are any like either in the AI space or like specific like Zapier integrations that people could play with to start to get some ideas?
Yeah, I think if my entire world exploded tomorrow, I would definitely go into like fractional automation work. Every single business on the internet has inefficiencies that can be solved with automation. If you have a virtual assistant that you're paying $800 a month to do a bunch of data entry, and I can replace that with one Zap, cool. I just saved you $800 and a bunch of time in managing that person and payroll and like there's like a very clear route to an ROI in the automation space, and every business owner that you talk to can be a customer. And I think like that creates easy mode for a lot of people, as long as you understand how to leverage a tool like Zapier or Make to step in and actually create that value.
What are some no-code automations that you've created for your own businesses that have helped you go on easy mode?
Oh, so many, dude. We used to run like 1.5 million zaps a month. There's a lot of moving pieces. I mean, I was telling you a little bit before, like Unlimited is built on the back of 6 or 7 zaps, right? Like, and we've been able to not have to scale our headcount in the same way just by leveraging some of that automation. Yeah, there's a handful. We use stuff for updating data sets. We use stuff for managing all of our Salesforce integrations, right? Like we automatically update opportunities, and if people miss a call, they automatically get moved into the no-show column, which then triggers a bunch of emails. And so we would have either had to hire an SDR to sit there and manage pipeline and move people around and follow up emails and all of it, or I can build 4 zaps that do 90% of that work for, you know, a penny an email. And it just makes more sense for us to lean in there.
What is your general approach to some of this business stuff?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I just try to remove my ego out of it. Like at the end of the day, like I'm just an idiot that's hanging out on the internet. I think a long time ago, I used to think that I had the answers and could come up with the best solution. But the reality is like the market will tell you exactly what they want if you just ask. Hey, what problem are you dealing with? This is what we need. Okay, cool. Like I'm just going to do that exact thing, not try to like come up with some groundbreaking concept that I think will work better. It's just like, I'm just going to follow the money, and money is in problems.
Have there been any things that you've learned from books or anywhere that have been most impactful?
You know, Essentialism is probably my favorite book of all time. Read it a couple times a year. And it's mostly just like shiny object syndrome is like, especially in the digital age, what's something that I think probably every entrepreneur deals with. Oh, a new idea here or a new opportunity. And really just like dialing in and focusing at the end of the day. It's like, how do we find the things that are the 80-20? Like for 20% of the effort, it's really going to create 80% of those results. And so reading that book really helps you kind of fine tune and get rid of a lot of the BS, which personally has been valuable, but also like in the offers. 72-hour sites is just a function of essentialism. How do we get rid of all the other things that are unnecessary and focus on just the thing that actually gets the result? We were talking about email sequences. You run a software company and you don't have a welcome series, right? Why are you spending time trying to throw a branded event when we don't have a welcome series? Like we have to do the foundational core, kind of boring, the things that actually move the needle first. And then when you start to pepper in that other 80%, you actually can capture the value from it.
Yeah, and which is really an idea in itself of someone who's watching this is like, oh, I have to like get certified on Zapier, all these things. Right. It's like, you could just go sign up for 100 different emails of different businesses and be like, oh, this actually isn't good. I could tweak that. Yeah. And then just give that to them for free. They'd be like, oh, yeah, can you do more of this?
100%. The barrier to entry on stuff like that is not as big as you would think. We've done 200 plus websites in the last year and a half, 2 years. We are not a certified Webflow agency partner. Haven't even applied, not even thinking about it, and make more money than a bunch of these guys that are certified Webflow agency partners.
And the beautiful part about some of these things like websites or copywriting is it's very visible, where some of these things that's like invisible, you don't know if they're gonna be good or not. You go to your website and there's really good copy. There's like beautiful landing pages. And so maybe a business helps to increase your conversion rate if you could see it.
Right, 100%. I think there's magic in visible results, right? Whether that's an aesthetic from a design agency or in charts and graphs from something that's a little bit more data-driven. Like, it's why we do monthly reporting with unlimited content. We want you to see what we're doing. And so focusing in on things where your impact is obvious and notable definitely makes the churn question a lot easier when you're dealing with clients.
How do you think about where you started versus where you are now?
I would have had no idea that I would have ended up here. It's all a massive blessing, right? Like I just around on the internet and chasing opportunities and just trying to say yes to as many things as I could to get into the rooms, learning as much as humanly possible, both about business types, everything from e-com to community to media to SaaS to agency, and then also just learning a bunch about myself and like what I prioritize, what matters to me, what I want to be working on, and deflation of my ego over that time as you go through successes and failures and having different responsibilities. The vehicle of entrepreneurship, if thought about in the correct way, is an awesome way to just become a better human being and participate in the economy and the world and hopefully impact a lot of lives in a positive way.
If somebody looks at your Twitter or some of your content, they might be like, oh, he's like the growth guy or like the SaaS business or agency guy. but you actually do a lot of other things too. What are some of the other like skills you've learned or things that you've done that people might not know about?
The finance side of it, I'm not going to tout to be, some expert in it, but, when you get into running more sizable businesses with different expense structures and revenue models, and we're not venture backed in any way. Everything is bootstrapped, self-funded. And so cash flow is king for us as we try to scale and grow, and we just have to be super conscious of that.
Is there anything that you believed firmly before that you no longer believe or you've changed your mind about?
I have an ego one for sure. I used to believe that I was the only one capable of doing a lot of the work. It was super challenging for me for a long time, and still is in certain stuff, to like delegate and trust other people to do it, which like goes back to the ego stuff. I was always just like, I'm the best guy for this job. But the reality is, like, as you start to get into bigger organizations, there are a lot of talented people out there that are like willing to support and now like much better than me at a lot of things. And so in the process of building out our team across a bunch of these verticals, it's been super cool to like see everybody else's talents and like give them the opportunity to shine and kind of step into more of like a manager role. I used to think it was just me against the world a little bit, and it felt that way, right? When you're just starting out in entrepreneurship, a lot of the time you can feel like you're on an island. You have some friends and some people on Twitter or whatever, but now I much prefer building with people.
Part of having a really healthy business too is like having people that work well together and are really good. How did you find your business partners, or how do you find good people to work with?
All of my business partners I've been friends with for a long time prior to starting the businesses with them. All of them, as of now, I met on Twitter. Just people that I interacted with, had conversations with, that were doing interesting things, that just big vibes guy. Like the vibes were always good. Even if we weren't working on something together, we'd always be helping each other. And then just timing, right? Like an opportunity presented itself for me to join Sam and Steven and do what we're doing over there at Quicker. And same thing happened with Creative OS, where it was like, hey, like I was just in the room and the timing was right, and I built a relationship with those guys, and we're all heading in the same direction. And so, it's just kind of a natural step in. It wasn't me trying to force my way into partnering with somebody.
Any like final message that you would give someone watching this who has a company and is like trying to grow it, or maybe they're looking to get into entrepreneurship?
Do more things. That's like literally all it comes down to across all aspects of life. Like the more energy that you put into something, the more energy it'll give you. It's really easy to sit there and think about or talk about ideas or try to come up with what the answer is going to be, instead of just like putting pen to paper, taking the action, seeing the feedback that you get from the market and learning from that.
Yeah, it's maybe a paradox, right? You got to do more things to do less things.
100%.
This is awesome. Sam, where can people check you out to learn more?
I'm just hanging out on Twitter, dude. I'm Sam Thompson.
Sam Thompson. Check him out. Awesome, dude. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.